Alright, gonna talk about The Walking Dead again, because I just got through watching the 100th episode of The Walking Dead, which is also the premiere episode for Season 8. And it was a good episode. This was a really good episode. And, of course, it's helped by the simple fact that the plot is very simple. The war between Rick's group and Negan has begun, and Rick manages to get the upper hand here and has the first victory in this war as far as his battle goes. So I suspect the next episode things are going to go more Negan's way. That's how these things roll. But and I expect quite a few longtime cast members to bite the dust rather quickly as the season goes through, and so on and so forth, and that's to be expected and all that. But it's just one episode, so does it make up for the horrible damage the previous season did? No, and it's just one episode. No one episode could do that. Interestingly enough, the premiere episode of last season was pretty good too. It in no way prepared me for the crap fest we were going to get from that season. But so far, this episode, the characters were pretty true to themselves as they've been established. There's no deviation from them as there was in the previous season. And the only real complaint I've got is the speech Rick gave, which, is a little flaky to me, a little fluffy. And then with the business, we've already won! Well, no, you've won when you've won. So then, I don't know if that's much of a rallying cry. So, but it's not enough to tell me, oh God, that ruined the whole thing. No, it didn't ruin the whole thing. And sometimes Ezekiel's Shakespearean soliloquies get on my nerves. I mean, look, people have died. Cut the act. But yeah, it's not enough to turn me off here. However, even if this turns out to be a really good season, is it enough to save the show? Because I think these past two seasons have done serious damage to it. And the main culprit, of course, remains repetition as being a disease that's just slowly killing the show. Because it's indicative of a writing crew that's run out of ideas. And I think that really became obvious in the last season because they're really off the rails there, especially with dialogue and what have you. So, is there enough here? Because I'm dubious that they have the ability to keep writing the same plot over and over in new and innovative and interesting ways. I just don't think so. And there's still problems left over from last season. Chief among them, the trash people. Oh man, I would take 100 Ezekiel soliloquies before having to listen another conversation with the trash people's Yoda talk. I mean, it's just awful. Boy, I wish they'd have just gotten wiped out at the end of last season and just move on with Negan's crew and that's it. But this is what we got to work with. So again, I'm still dubious about their ability to pull rabbit out of the hat here, especially since they were an announcement of a stunt that they're going to do, where the two shows, the Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, the spinoff, are going to cross over, which they've been denying for a long time they would ever do, because there's a time gap between the two. But, there's still things you can do to make them cross over. So they're going to do that. And that tells me, yeah, they're throwing little tricks around here and stuff like that to gear up the excitement, to keep the show going. Because the ratings have taken quite the dip. And if they continue to do so, well, So, I'm hoping they can prove me wrong. And there's going to be some cool, clever ideas that I never saw coming. But again, dubious. And just real quick, the trash heap people, there was some rumors that they're going to turn into the Whisperers. If you read the comic book series, there's a group called the Whisperers. I know. Every new group or gang has to have some kind of weird, stupid nickname. So, but the cool part of the Whispers was they came up with this clever idea of using the skin of the walkers to hide amongst them, to protect them from the walkers, and also to provide cover when they're attacking other groups and so forth. And that was interesting and cool and clever. But the group itself and their weird code of living, it was just so far-fetched and stupid. I don't know. Didn't really buy that. But interestingly enough, their storyline takes place much further down the road than the current timeline that we're in here with Rick and Negan's war. So, more down the future, I suppose you could make it believable that certain groups of people would really go that far off the deep end and actually form an entire weird tribe of people who follow that. Whereas the Trash Heap people, it's a little too soon for every one of them to have this weird cult-like, activity. Unless, of course, they had always been a cult before the apocalypse. So, boy, stupid things like that really take you out of the story. And that's a big no-no. You never want to do that, but they did it. So I'm hoping that's not the case. I just want the Trash Heap people to go away. Another theory floating around was that Madison will transform into the leader of the Whispers. If you read the comic book, you know who I'm talking about. I hope not, but yeah, I suppose. But I'm hoping that that's not the crossover. So, boy. Then if that happens, then they're basically admitting we're desperate. We don't know what to do. There is one story left to tell, but again, as I mentioned in previous Walking Dead videos I've done, Kirkman has already said he has no interest in doing that story. So far, I guess they're not going to pull the trigger on that one. And it's getting to the point where if they ever did, out of desperation, it would just be a desperate move, and it wouldn't come off very well, and it would be too late. So, yeah, dubious on the future. But the 100th episode of The Walking Dead was a good one. So 4 out of 5 stars because, well, like I said, there's a problem with the series overall. I didn't like Rick's speech, stuff like that. But a good episode overall, so 4 out of 5 stars. So there you go. Thanks for listening. Do check out my podcast, The Mr. Nailsin Show, at radiomisfits.com. And of course, if you're feeling charitable and you want to get yourself some goodies, head over to my store. That's in stores, actually. And it's in the link below at Zazzle.com, the Mr. Nailsin store, and at sellfy.com/Nailsin, where you'll find my poor man's Mystery Science Theater videos on old public domain films. Do enjoy. And again, thanks for listening.